Good morning. How are you today? All right. We are gonna learn today about digestion. So, let's see. Good morning. Thank you for coming over. We are going today to learn about digestion and how digestion actually works in our bodies and how we can improve it in everyday life. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, 2 more minutes and we are gonna start. Okay. Does anyone want to say what do you think digestion is in general? What process is this? Okay. I'm looking for an image and I'll be showing to you. Good morning everyone. Does anyone would like to say anything about digestion? And what do you know about it? So digestion is a north to south process. We are all human beings and we all have a system, not just human beings. All living creatures have some kind of ways to get the food in and the waste out. It's the same for us. I wanted to get a picture for you here in just a moment and I'll show it to you what I mean. Because too many times what I noticed, and I'll be as honest as possible and as straightforward, because we many times take care of our cars more than of our bodies. And I see this happening a lot. It is the area I'm like circling in and I'm being charmed in this, because I see lots of men and women too. They're growing in this environment of going places and changing filters of the cars and oils and dusting and taking care of all the things, but they don't take care of their bodies. What do you think will happen if you put diesel in your car which needs gas? Or what do you think will happen if you give water instead of oil? Or what do you think, like this type of analogies, plus other things, like most people take care of their external world a lot more than internal. Like they do hair extensions, nails, all kinds of teeth whitening. But where do these things come from? They come from within. And it starts with our emotions and our emotional state, just the way we see the reality and all the process we have within us. It's the processes of not digesting our foods and nutrients and pathogens, but also how we digest our emotions. So that's what we're gonna talk today about. But one thing I wanted to say is that no matter your profession, you are still a human being and you need to know how to care for your body. Most people are not aware how their digestion works. They have no idea what is that. A lot of them, they don't even know where, on what side of the body is the liver, or things like that. And that's very important, I believe. It's very important. We should know what we have in our house, so we don't go buying what we already have. It's the same about our bodies. We should know what works for us and what doesn't. That is why know yourself is the best thing what you can do. Here is an image. I'll just circle it around. So right here is an image and you can see this and understand that our digestion starts from up here and goes all the way to the bottom. It is a process of north to south. And I'll explain what that means. Because it's very important, not just what you eat, but it's also very important the way you eat and the environment you're in. If you are standing or you are very stressed and you try to eat at that time, you'll not be able to digest your food very well. I'll explain why. It's because our brain senses that as a danger. It's not time to digest my food. It's not to absorb the nutrients, but it is time to run away, basically. That is why in this busy world of so much to do and go and see and know all the news from all the countries and stuff, it is essential to do a few deep breaths during the day. That's the most important thing what you can do for yourself. At least a few deep breaths. When you do this deep breathing and focus on the breath only a few times a day, you bring in the parasympathetic nervous system. You tell your brain that I'm ready to receive nutrition. I'm ready to digest and absorb this food. I'm ready to feed my body. Otherwise, what happens is that our bodies think that they're being chased all the time, that something is going on. We have this reptilian brain that believes that it's in danger and does everything possible to save us. And what it does, concentrates all those nutrients in our limbs, in our feet and our hands, so we can run and we can fight. But all our internal organs are being left out without nutrition, without oxygen, and that is why this shallow breathing, it is the most impactful in a non-healthy way. Here's the trend which I see. Lots of people are trying to eat healthy. So I'm not here to criticize anyone or any of that. I'm here to make analogies and bring to you different points of a picture to see and understand. Counting calories, it is a bad practice. It is not a good choice to feed your body because not all calories are the same. For example, 100 calories from fruits and vegetables will be very different processed than 100 calories from some processed refined foods. So for example, some crackers, some goldfish foods will be processed very differently and the sugar will be absorbed much faster right into the blood, where the fruits and vegetables have a lot of fiber most of the times. It has different, depending what you're eating, fats and fiber. Those things are slowing down the absorption of sugar in your blood. That is why it's very important to have not only a healthy balance of foods, but also to have a calm nervous system when you eat. Another trend which I see is that people are trying to eat, they're going on vegan diets, which is another trap, because vegan diets, especially here in America, lots of this Beyond Burger or Just Egg or whatever they're selling, they are full of preservatives and they are way more dangerous than any eggs. And when it comes to eggs, they are not the villain in the city. It's actually the way around. People think that, oh, egg will be causing me to have high cholesterol. It is not the truth actually, because we need that cholesterol and we need that retinol, vitamin A to feed our brain. Our brain is made of 60% of cholesterol. So why do you think you did Just Egg or you did just egg is a solution of egg replacement, which people make their omelets with, and it is full of preservatives and parabens in there. I have read the ingredients and researched it. It is not a good choice, especially Beyond Burger has fake meat made from soy, genetically modified things. You don't want to ingest that. So going vegan or going to the extreme of counting calories, those are not good options, they're not sustainable. Other things I see is that people are trying to do their best to eat as healthy as possible, and as many specialists are out there, as many opinions. So that is why we need to begin listening to our own bodies. Do I feel right now that I have an acid reflux? Do I feel bloating? Do I feel like I didn't eat enough? Do I feel still hungry? We have to ask ourselves these questions, because if we don't, then the environment will dictate what we need. The environment, that means all kinds of videos, specialists, doctors, everyone will tell the schedule what to eat and how to go and how to come. But they don't know what's going on. Another thing what affects our internal clock, it's also the pathogens, and you'll understand how they come in our bodies in this webinar. So thank you. Couple people here, thank you for taking the time to educate yourself, to understand how actually we are getting pathogens in our bodies, how we're getting parasites, candida, how we are actually getting them in our body, how we do allow it to happen, because it's through the lifestyle and the choices we make that we allow the parasites in our bodies. And I truly believe that everyone has them, and it's a part of nature, and it should be this way. But the only missing piece here is that they shouldn't be everywhere, and they should be in check. The body has its own regulation system, and I believe that our body is so amazing. I see times and times again when we give it trash, and the body is so amazing that it takes and makes those nutrients, and it does amazing processes. So appreciate your body, begin seeing what a machine is, because if you would give to some kind of tools to this printer, if I put in it something else than just paper, it will not do the job. But we do this to our bodies. We know the things, like the airplane goes that way and it has certain protocols and they're following and it works. But in our bodies, we know that we need certain nutrients, but we don't give it. We give it trash. But our bodies still take that trash and do something with it. And the thing here is to not ever go in extremes, and it's very important to have that mindset. Maria, thank you for coming. You can see from the beginning the video, I started it a few minutes ago, and you can learn about what we talked before and then, because I can't repeat it again for all the people who are here. Anyway, I'll show again this picture. So right here, this one is the digestion system. It is a north to south process. And it's this tube which feeds and just helps us develop and grow and repair our body. It's actually absolutely amazing. I believe that these should be the lessons which kids have at school. Everyone should know these things. Because what I find is most people don't even know where their organs are, or the main organs, because nobody needs to know everything, and we think, well, I'm not a doctor, I don't need to know that. Well, you have a body, and you are the only one who feels what you feel, because you'll understand later that all our stress hormones, or any anger or happiness or any type of hormones, they're not just in our head, they're hormones in our bodies, and we depend on making them from the foods that we eat. So there are 6 functions of digestion. It's the ingestion, the propulsion, the mechanical digestion, chemical digestion, which happens into our stomach, absorption, and after this the defecation. Thank God for that part, but lots of people are constipated. You'll understand from today a deeper level why we should not be constipated, or if we are, to find ways to move those things, because it's critical to be able to receive nutrients and expel the waste out. Lots of people are keeping it in for weeks and months, and a lot of the times you'd go to the restroom and you try to go and you go a little bit and maybe you have some left, and that's every time. 20 years later you still are doing the same thing. It is a cycle. The body gets into this habit of going to the restroom and not releasing it every time, and with that you also have lots of hormones and emotions which are holding you back to go to the restroom. If I knew about these things and so much more, which now are helpful tools for me to actually help myself, I wouldn't have gone the road I did before. Because when I gave birth to my son, I had such a severe constipation from all the epidural, from all the medication, from all the things that they gave me, and all of those are slowing down your process of digestion totally. It destroys the microbiome in your intestine, in the large intestine especially, and that way you become so constipated, the body holds onto it like to dear life, and you become so constipated. And if I knew how to help myself naturally, and how dangerous actually are these little recommendations on a tiny paper, go and take some Miralax, but that thing is actually synthetic, chemical, petroleum-based preservative, which will destroy your intestines. I've had that done for a while, for long back, a few years ago, and I do know the repercussions and all the side effects that come from it. Why I speak about this is that when I worked as a nutritional health coach and going through all these processes and seeing how many people are still very constipated, lots of kids who are constipated go to school and they want to go back home because they feel that they want to go but they can't. It's very important to understand that we have the digestion to understand it and what to do with it and how to actually improve. So the brain and the nervous system are the most important parts when it comes to the beginning phases of digestion. So what happens in a process of digestion? Let's say right now you think about when you cook a meal, something you cook and you smell it and you taste a little bit, maybe just the taste of it, smell the food, you prepare it, and your body just absolutely I'll tell you, Marina, how to replace it, because if you don't, then the body will force you to. Thank you for the question. I'll write it down. I didn't know, like if I didn't mention this, you'd have never told me. Anyway, the brain and the nervous system are the beginning of the celiac phase of digestion. When you smell the food, that's the first thing what happens is that our brains release those certain stomach juices, different enzymes in our mouth. Something absolutely miraculous happens on the liver, on the pancreas. There are so many processes which are starting only when you smell food. That is why when you look at something delicious, meal, chicken, duck, meat, vegetables, you can even cake or whatever it is, and you have a spit in your mouth. You feel the saliva coming in just looking at that. It's because our bodies are so amazingly made. Our brain tells us, our body, what juices to prepare to be able to digest that food and actually absorb it. So when it happens that you just go and drive through somewhere and you take some food, you barely have time to breathe any of it, to smell it, and your body most of the time is not even prepared to receive that food, even if you think you're hungry. That's another type of discussion. Lots of people think they're hungry, but they probably are thirsty or they're mineral deficient most of the time. Magnesium, sodium, potassium. So it's very, very important to try to deep breathe, even if you take some food out from McDonald's, which I never recommend. But if it happens once in forever, deep breathing right when you take the meal is the most important part to prepare to digest that food. So what happens in our mouth and in our esophagus? So our mouth, the buccal area, the teeth, the tongue, they are so important. They're not just beautiful for us to look. They are parts of mastication and of digestion. So when our food hits the tongue, the ingestion begins. And the digestion started in the brain. The brain told the mouth what to produce. So the amylase, the salivary amylase breaks down the starchy carbohydrates. So we started at 11 something, now it's 11:30. I emphasize this area so much so you understand that you need to take the food and actually break it down, masticate, cut it down with your teeth. Chew, 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 and I teach my children as well to chew their food at least 10, 15 times. It's a very hard process to teach your children to chew very well. By chewing well your food while it's in your mouth, it doesn't just allow the brain and your intestines to actually know what stomach juice and what enzymes and what hormones to release, but it actually helps the body to digest the carbohydrates right into the mouth, so your digestion system doesn't have to work as hard. So what are carbohydrates? Everything, what are fruits and vegetables, all kinds of refined complex carbohydrates. They all are like grains or any type of cereals or other things what people eat, which are processed carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are being broken down in the mouth. Marina, by the time of this video is will be over, if you'll be here and learn as I go, and you can rewatch this video, you will know what you need to do. Because it's not just one thing, what should I replace Miralax with that only. It is a process, and right here I'm speaking about learning and teaching your children to chew their food. That's the most important part when it comes to constipation. To chew your food very well, strong, chew, 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 and it's not something which we're taught. It basically needs to be a school of how to teach people to sit down and chew their food. It's one of those things which I tell my clients when I work. I had a few cousins, and I don't work with relatives anymore. I only work with people who are actually very interested in their health, not people who only kind of want help but they don't. Only when you are actually very aware and you chew your food very well, that's the only time when you can actually digest your carbohydrates right into your mouth. It breaks down the starchy carbohydrates. What happens also in the mouth. Lingual lipase begins the breakdown of certain fats. So certain fats are also broken down in the mouth. So if you're chewing very well in your mouth, you might be able to slow down and basically help your digestion system later. So your stomach doesn't have to churn as much and work as hard, or your intestines don't have to produce as much juices and just work so hard. That's one more reason that we don't just get constipated, but also we get lots of pathogens this way if we are not chewing our food well. So the food in the mouth becomes a bolus and moves through the esophagus. So the esophagus is right here. I'll show you again. Right here, this is the esophagus. Lots of people have acid reflux. And what is actually acid reflux? People think that it's this burning sensation which comes. I've had it and I know what it is. I solved it and that's it. But definitely it is not what most people think. Stomach acid right here is the one which burns because it's very, very acidic. Burns the esophagus and you have this feeling of acid reflux and you feel burning sensation in your throat almost. It's because the stomach is very, very acidic, the stomach juice. But why does this happen? You are understanding right now. You're gonna understand the process and why it actually happens. The stomach acts like a disinfecting chamber. The stomach acts also as a protein digestion motor. So basically the stomach takes and churns that food. Everything what was in your mouth now goes down and you digest and mostly at this point is just breaking down, destroying. And right here is the biggest secret of all when it comes to acid reflux. Most people think like this, and doctors tell them this, that you have acid reflux, let's give you some medication to bring it down, to have less stomach acidity. And lots of people are for years on end on Tums, on Prilosec, all kinds of medication. I'm not here to advise against those. I'm not a doctor and I do not recommend you coming off of a medication or to go on one. I simply advise for you to look at it and ask questions, because I have lots of clients and people who actually, people who I know and have these different issues, it is that they have too little stomach acid and it's not as acidic as needed. That is why they have a stomach acid reflux. It's the esophagus burning. It is because it's not acidic enough or they don't have enough of it. Why? Why do we need it to be so acidic and enough of it? It's because the sphincter right here, it allows your body to open it up if you don't digest well your food. So what happens is that you get food into your stomach and it churns, and if you didn't chew it very well, if you didn't breathe a few times at least before eating, your stomach senses that basically. It sees that it didn't do all the digestion needed. The proteins, bacteria, parasites, yeast, viruses, they all are proteins. They all come through our stomach. I'm here saying it one, so you understand. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, yeast, all kinds of pathogens, they are proteins. They come in our food and they are digested and destroyed in our stomach. So if you don't have enough stomach acid, if you don't have an acidic stomach acid, then you are not able not to only digest the protein, but you can also not digest and destroy the pathogens. So what happens? The process began. You began eating and chewing, and you are not chewing very well, and everything goes down really fast. And it takes about 2-3 hours as usual for the stomach to empty all those contacts. But if you did not, the body feels like this: if I didn't digest well everything, well, I feel like there are some pathogens here, so let me hold it in. So the body keeps it closed right here. The sphincter, which goes from the stomach down towards the intestines, it just closes and it says, you know what, you're not going yet. I am not done with the digestion. So what happens? Lots of people have a lot of bloating and sensation that they're gonna explode after eating. It's because the digestion was not well done. The stomach sensed that, and it closed right here, the sphincter, and it tried to make the digestion as much as possible, but the pressure is so big that it opened this sphincter right here to go up. So that is why you have a stomach acid reflux. It goes right up. So how do you see this happening? If you will take Tums, or you'll take any type of anti-acid medication, or it will make things worse. It's because it will not absorb the food, basically. If you don't have a very acidic environment in the stomach, you are not able to break down the proteins. You are not going to be able to absorb the B12 vitamin and the calcium, which happens in the stomach at this stage. It happens then, and you will not be able to help to have all those cells and just to protect your stomach. Because did you know that stomach cells actually produce on their own vitamin C, which really protects the stomach's mucosa. The stomach acidity is like 0.5 to 3 in a fasted stomach, and between 4 to 6.7 in a fed stomach. So it's very important to have a very acidic stomach acid. But if you take medication to lower that stomach acidity, you're not able to break down your foods. You're not able to break down those vitamins and minerals and take them all out, and the body is not able to absorb those calcium or other minerals and B12, which are happening here in the stomach. So what's further? Let's learn. Hopefully you are enjoying this. If you have any more questions, let me know, because it is so crucial to understand how our digestion works. The stomach's 3 main jobs are to disinfect the food and produce the gastric juices, as we said, to break down the protein and free certain nutrients from food complexes like calcium and B12. So this is the beginning of the gastric phase of digestion. So what does happen later? Because our bodies are so complex and they're so interesting to actually notice what's happening. The protein triggers the release of gastrin. Gastrin is a chemical which, along with other chemicals, tells specific cells in the stomach to produce HCl. But the HCl, it is the hydrochloric acid, which is the acidity, the acidic juice in the stomach. That's the HCl. Doctors and all the professions out there are referring to the stomach juice as the HCl. The gastric pH is somewhere between 0.5 to 3 in a fasted, and between the 4 to 6.7 in a fed stomach. So it differs from person to person and from depending what you eat. So gastrin gets the muscles of the stomach to begin contraction with the gastrin. And what happens when you just bite that first time or just smell the food? Our body tells the body, okay, you need gastrin, prepare. So the gastrin gets the muscle of the stomach to begin contractions. The HCl, which you learned that that's a hydrochloric acid, pepsin and the bolus are all churning. The pepsin is another juice in our body. Proteins are denaturating, and the intrinsic factor is produced at this point. The intrinsic factor, it's also a very important part in our digestion, and most people are not aware that the stomach could be melted with its own juices if it did not have its mucosa. And the mucosa is basically its own vitamin C. The body produces, the stomach cells produce their own vitamin C, which is so cool. All this acidic soup of stomach juices, protein, fat, is called chyme. Did you know that? It's called chyme. So at that time, when you basically ate something and it got here to the stomach and it went to the small intestine, it begins to be the phase of intestinal phase, of digestion. Then that's where the chyme goes. Chyme is everything that you ate became just a very watery liquid, because that's what it is. It's actually cool to imagine this in yourself. So the chyme enters the duodenum. The duodenum is via the pyloric sphincter. It gives the direction between the stomach and the small intestines. So the fat and the protein in the chyme triggers the CCK, is cholecystine, to slow emptying. So basically, if you had fat and protein in the chyme, it triggers the cholecystine to slow emptying. The duodenum also acts as an endocrine gland, sending messages to the pancreas to protect it. So that's how in the duodenum, when the stomach empties its own contents right into the beginning of the small intestine, that's how they communicate. Stomach is being told what to do, to slow down or to give it faster. And also there are certain juices which tell the pancreas, okay, prepare, you need bicarbonate, you need stomach juices, you need these hormones. It is amazing what's happening, and I am so passionate and honored to explain it to you, because it's only when you get at least a little bit of information, you understand that you can't just do one thing to help with something, because it is a complex. We are complex beings, and we need more things which can be done, easy steps, but every day. It is a consistency which needs to take place. So right now we are getting into the three little organs, little very big, liver, pancreas, and gallbladder. Hi Christina, thank you for joining. You missed 45 minutes, you can go back and learn more, but we definitely started long ago to explain digestion. So the liver produces bile and it delivers it to the gallbladder for storage. So did you know how much bile we produce per day? So our liver is right here. Most people don't even know where the organs are, but it's okay to not know everything, but the main organs I think we will need to know. So anyone who did not see the video from the beginning, please go back and see it, because I think it's cool to know where your organs are and There are so much more factual data in there. So the liver, pancreas, and the gallbladder are so important, not only in digestion, but also in the hormonal phases to support our bodies. So our liver is right here located, and the pancreas is on the left side, and the gallbladder, it is attached to the liver. So what happens basically in a day? Let's say you have a day, you don't know what's happening in your body because you are not controlling these systems voluntarily. Imagine it, if you had to tell, okay, liver do this, heart do that. That's a lot. Our bodies are so intelligent. They're doing this involuntarily. We don't even know what's happening. The gallbladder collects bile from the liver 1 liter a day. Every single day we make 1 liter a day. It comes from the liver and it goes into the gallbladder and it stays there and stays there. And what happens, it's absolutely amazing. For people who don't have gallbladder, that's a big issue. Most of the times they have big diarrhea for many years and they don't even know why. But that's the issue because they don't have a gallbladder to collect the bile. The bile goes directly into the small intestine. But if you do have a gallbladder, this means you have a storage house for toxins. And that's very important to know, because liver is the filter of all the things that we ingest, that all the things, not only of nutrients, but also of used hormones, of toxins, of pesticides, all kinds of preservatives, wherever we eat or wherever we experience emotions, they all are staying in the liver, basically. And let's say if you had anger or other hormones experiencing in your body, those hormones are being stored in your liver and pulling in and going into your gallbladder. The gallbladder is the storage house for all those toxins, and that is why it's very important to know how to support your body. So if you don't eat anything beery foods, if you don't eat fatty foods, if you don't have sulfuric foods, sulfur food, like cruciferous vegetables, like cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, they all are full of sulfur. So if you're not having that, or you don't have beery foods like dandelion and different herbs like astragalus, like burdock root, yellow root, and there are so many other teas out there which are very, very beery. Everything what's beery, or even like liver, chicken liver, beef liver, or other types of liver, everything what's beery pulls out that bile from the gallbladder and makes it to move from the gallbladder out. Otherwise, that is why we get stones in our gallbladder. We get all the toxins build up and it becomes very, very, very potent. Things are not moving. That's why I showed, and I made a video, and I made a video and showed how to make the castor oil pack, where you put castor oil here. You can refer to it later. But definitely understand that the gallbladder is a storage house for toxins, for pesticides, for unused hormones, for all kinds of things for which we have in our bodies. So that is why it's very important to move it. Otherwise, we have gallbladder stones. That's the issue, because lots of toxins are being built up in there and they're not moving. We need to find ways to help it. So beery foods, sulfur foods, and fats, healthy fats, especially animal fats, are the ones which can help move that bile. Not having bile released on a regular basis means a lot of constipation, and I'll explain why in a minute. So the liver produces the bile and it delivers it to the gallbladder. The gallbladder stores a concentration of the delivered from the liver. The bile bathes the fat globules in the chyme and breaks them into smaller pieces. So basically, if you don't have fats in your diet, as I said, the bile from the gallbladder will not be released if you didn't have any B3, didn't have sulfur, or it didn't have any fats. At this point, the pancreas acts in an exocrine function here, because we know that pancreas has two functions, endocrine and exocrine. The endocrine is more for blood sugar regulation, but the exocrine function is more for pancreatic juices. So what happens? They go into the lumen of the small intestines, bicarbonate, just baking soda. That's what happens, because think back, what did we say about the bolus? That bolus of food, it's the chyme which we had. And it's that food which was very, very acidic at that time. What happens? The pancreas releases into the small intestine this bicarbonate, like baking soda, to just dilute that acidity. Otherwise, if it will be so acidic, all that chyme will destroy our small intestine. That is why the pancreas does its own job for this exocrine function. And also, it produces enzymes. The pancreatic enzymes are the proteins for protein digestion, the amylase for carbohydrate digestion, and lipase for fat digestion. So our pancreas are so important in digestion process. Plus, pancreas is very important for adrenals health, for mental health, for fat storage, and being able to have a calm mind. Everything depends on the liver and the pancreas. Anyone who saw this video just little bits, please go back and watch it all, because I put it once here to speak clearly about how digestion works, and there is small short term so you really understand and grasp. Just let me know, give me some kind of feedback, if you're enjoying it, if you're learning something new, if it was something which you wanted to learn, whatever feedback you can give. It just helps me understand if people need this or nobody needs it. So we're going back to the small intestine. The acidity of the chyme triggers the cells in the duodenum to release the secretin in the bloodstream. So remember, the chyme was very, very acidic, and the pancreas made its own job to create that bicarbonate to dilute that acidity. This signals to decrease the HCl production and triggers the bicarbonate release of the pancreas, as I said. The presence of fat and protein in the chyme triggers the release of CCK, the cholecystine. Basically, having fat and protein tells the body to release the CCK, which the cholecystine tells the gallbladder to contract and empty its bile. Thank you for anyone who is joining. Make sure please to watch this video from the beginning, because I talk about digestion step in step. How does digestion begin and how it ends? So definitely make sure you check it out after we're done with this live, because it's been almost an hour since I started it. So it is a lot of a process. Right now we are in our small intestines, but we started from the head. So make sure you see that after this video. Make a priority for yourself to learn about it. The cholecystine, it's basically triggered by the fat and protein. So if you had fats and protein, that tells the gallbladder to contract its bile and purge it out. So the bile from the gallbladder is being purged out. The cholecystine tells the pancreas to release the digestive enzymes, as we said, the digestive enzymes which are helping us break down protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So the CCK, also this cholecystine, signals the brain to start to feel full. So at this point, when the chyme came out from the stomach, went into your duodenum, went into your small intestines, it began the digestion absorption. I'll explain that in a minute. The body tells, basically this process tells the brain to begin feeling full. That is how we eat, and at one point to begin to feel full. But what happens when you eat something like Doritos or crackers or some kind of other things, pasta or other stuff which is not natural for our bodies? Those things are not helping the body to tell, hey, I feel full. Lots of people are eating until they just expand so much. Their bodies almost like explode, and that's when they say, oh, maybe I'm done, or they finish the food from their plate. But we should be reliant on our brains to tell us when we are done with food. Our brain needs to start to feel full and tell us that. Basically, there are certain hormones which are being produced at this point to tell us that we are full. We should not eat the grams which somebody told us. We should listen to our own brains. The duodenum is primarily about digestion. By the time the chyme leaves the duodenum, it's almost totally digested. I'll show you again. So the food came through here and went all the way down and went to the stomach, and pancreas, liver, pancreas, and the gallbladder all communicated with each other, and it helped. And after this, the food is around right through here underneath in the small intestines. At this point, that's very cool. Thank you so much for coming in the digestion tract of me to understand how the digestion actually works. The chyme moves past the duodenum to a segment lined with villi. Villi are like little hands, like these little fingers. The villi covered and the microvilli for nutrient absorption. So in our small intestines there is this villi, super tiny ones, and they are going and grabbing onto that food. Vitamins, minerals, all the nutrients. And what happens if you have pathogens, if you didn't chew your food very well, if you did not absorb very well at the stomach level, if you did not have, here's the most important part, which I absolutely loved learning about, and it totally made sense. In the small intestine is being absorbed most of the nutrients, all the vitamins, minerals, all these micronutrients and micronutrients, they are all being absorbed here in the small intestine. Remember, in the calcium and certain minerals and also B12 vitamins are being absorbed into the stomach. If you have good stomach juices, very acidic, you'll absorb that calcium. And you need to have acidic stomach to be able to absorb calcium. Now, in the small intestines are absorbed all the other vitamins and minerals. So, through these little microvilli and villi. If you did not absorb very well everything, you will go down. So what happens, it's amazing at this point. If you didn't absorb everything, and our small intestine doesn't have stomach juices, it does not have churning and doing the process of digestion. So the large intestine will release all kinds of bacteria, parasites, all its own microbiome from the large intestine, it allows it to go up into the small intestine to digest that food for you, which you did not digest it with your teeth first, with your brain first, with your teeth, with your mouth, with your saliva, with your stomach, and so on. So if you did not do that process, and you did not digest well, and you did not absorb, when the body is so intelligent, says, I'm not gonna waste anything. So it sends basically like an artillery, and it allows different creatures from down there, from the large intestine, to go up in the small intestine to help digest that food. But what happens if you allow from the large intestine, which they should never be in the small intestines, parasites, yeast of all kinds of bacteria, they all are going, and yes, they are making the digestion for you in the small intestine. But they actually, how they are doing it, at what expense? They release a lot of endotoxins, lots of bloating, lots of sensation of feeling full, of constipation, and also they are creating lots of other issues. At this point, it's when you get food sensitivities and allergies to different foods, to environment. It is at this point. If you did not digest very well your food, or you had certain toxins and heavy metals and pesticides, and especially when people have gluten sensitivity, it is because at this point the gluten, the protein, is able to go through the layers of the small intestine. The small intestine, remember, is just one layer. So it's just one layer, the small intestine. So if it's hyperpermeable, it allows things to go out, and every time you eat the same thing, which creates that inflammation in the body. Basically, the body has these allergies, has its food sensitivities, and people say, oh, I have allergy from pollen or whatever, but that's what's happening in our bodies, because we got so many toxins at that level, and we are not able to digest our food normally, so they go out, and they help us digest. But as I said, the expense is big. The toxins, the parasites are releasing, or other bacteria which are actually digesting our food, but also they eat. They don't leave it to us anyway. That is how we are able to get all kinds of parasites all over our bodies. And it's not true that most of the doctors are saying, well, parasites are only in the stool, in the large intestine. It's actually not true. That's how you get them. They go everywhere. If you are not creative on that level to put in more probiotics, I don't speak here about bottled probiotics, I speak about food, about kimchi, sauerkraut, all kinds of pickles. We need those bacteria, and we need lots of starch, what's called starchy fiber. We need fiber, undigestible fiber. We need that there in the large intestine. So what happens at this point? We are in the small intestine still. The peristalsis moves the chyme through the jejunum and the ileum, where most of the nutrient absorption occurs, as I said. Most of the carbohydrates are absorbed as simple sugars. Fiber and resistant starches move onto the large intestine. Most of the proteins are absorbed as amino acids, the smallest building blocks of the protein. So did you know that without protein, you'll not be able to fight infections? Without enough protein, especially animal protein, you cannot fight infections. We need those building blocks. Without amino acids, you cannot fight infections. So going into like less meats for certain people, or less eggs, they might have more infection because they don't have amino acids. If they don't, then they should get at least a protein powder, clean one, to support that body for amino acid production. So both sugars and amino acids are absorbed directly into the bloodstream and the portal blood vessels, taken to the liver, and that's before being distributed to the body. So basically, the sugars and the amino acids from the small intestines are being taken to the liver for filtering, and after this they go to the whole body, and the liver churns all of it and takes all the toxins and stores in the gallbladder all the toxins that it could find in that food in that time. But if it did not have at least some kind of B3 foods, it did not have any fats, healthy fats. Here's another point of discussion. But definitely understand that our food is being taken to the liver to be filtered, and after this distributed to the body. The fat absorption is a bit more complex. So what happens, there are like short chain acids which are being absorbed right into the blood portal, the bloodstream, and there are long chain fatty acids. So the short chain acids will be like, let's say, coconut oil is being absorbed right into the blood, but the long chain fatty acids are being absorbed into the lymphatic system. So the body takes it to the liver, and the liver takes it, the butter, let's say, or animal fats, they're being taken, because they're long chain fatty acids, they're being taken to the lymphatic system. A lymphatic system is another very important topic to understand, because our lymphatic system is the one which cleans out our toxic, our waste, what we are not able to excrete because we don't have certain cofactors, we don't have enough sulfur, we don't have enough B3 foods. It is being absorbed and kept in the lymphatic system, especially if we don't move it. The lymphatic system does not move on its own. You need to move it. It is a process which needs to happen, like dry skin brushing, or certain salt baths, or scrubbing something, or scratching your body. That moves the lymph somehow. There are massages and professional massages which do lymphatic drainage and so, but everyone should understand that that's the reason that all these toxins are built up. We need to move it. The blood moves on its own, whatever. But the lymphatic system does not. We need to move it manually with our hands. That is why getting massages are like the best things what you can do for your body, as far as relaxation, but also this. So nutrients absorbed into the bloodstream move either through or between the cells. So certain things are being absorbed through the cell, like amino acids, and some are going between the cells. So our body is made of millions and trillions of cells. Some of them go through to another one, but another one goes between. So most bile is reabsorbed by small intestine. So let's say at this point, what happened? That the food was taken to the liver. You understood already that the chyme, and after this it was digested and taken to the liver for filtering, and from there it went to the portal bloodstream or to the lymphatic system. And most of the bile is reabsorbed back into the small intestine. The bile is made mostly of water, of bile salts, of lots of waste products, hormones. I even wrote myself a list to let you know what's the bile made of, because it's mostly so potent of water and what's called different fats if you had them. So cells in the ileum are sensitive to undigested macronutrients. Here is the thing which we talked about when it comes to pathogens. So they are so sensitive to macronutrient indigestion in the chyme, will slow the process down to digest properly before moving to the large intestine. As I said before, it creates this sensation of having bloating after eating. It's because it was not processed well, and the body didn't have enough time to make that happen, and that is why the large intestine allowed all those creatures to come up and help you digest. But the reason that you have a bloating, it is that they did that. They left a lot of endotoxins, they're called. So what is left in the chyme moves into the large intestine. Indigestible fibers, a small amount of bile, water, the sloughed off cells from the digestive tract, because lots of different pieces from us, we can see at the end of the day that we have dead skin, or when you wash yourself you can feel that there are certain cells coming off, or especially from a sunburn, if a little bit. That's what happens inside of our bodies as well. The bodies and the tissues are constantly dying off and regrowing. That's a constant process. So sloughed off cells from the digestive tract are also moving with the peristalsis into the large intestine. So most nutrients have been absorbed at this point. So remember, I said the duodenum and the small intestine, all the nutrients at that point, they were being absorbed with the microvillus. Remember these hands, with the fingers, that's what they are. As chyme moves through, the last parts of nutrients occurs right in the large intestine. So in the large intestine is being absorbed also water, electrolyte minerals. They are being also absorbed at this point too. Small bile reabsorption also may happen right into the large intestine. Why do I say that? So you don't want it to happen. Why? So at that point, when the bile came into the small intestine and it was absorbed back in it, so the bile, we know that is full of unused used hormones already by toxins. Many times it has all kinds of pathogens in there. So you want to try to avoid it being reabsorbed every time. So it's being reabsorbed first in the small intestine, and if you did not have any sulfur foods, unless it's conjugated of sulfur, the bile will be reabsorbed in the large intestine as well. So if you had any type of cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, those have sulfur. Also DMSO liquid, MSM, I can show you those. They're absolutely amazing substances for our bodies. So if you have sulfur in your stool at the time when the food moves from the small intestine to the large intestine, so if you have sulfur, the bile will not reabsorb into the large intestine, but it will go out of the feces. This means it will go out when you go to defecate. So that is very, very important to have sulfur foods every day into your diet. The leftover waste is formed into feces and requires the help from the microbiome. The microbes in the large intestine consume what the body could not digest, like fibers, resistant starches, and polyphenols. As microbiomes eat, they produce different things. Some make vitamins like vitamin K2 and B2, and some make short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. It's called also butyric acid, butter, basically, which is very cool to know. So basically, that's what happens. The microbiomes eat what you could not then digest, and also they produce different things like the vitamin K2 and the B vitamins. And they also produce butyrate, the butyric acid, which is actually butter. At this point, also serotonin is being produced by the cells of the colon, but is stimulated by the presence of certain microbes. So that is why it's very important to have a high diversity of microbiome creatures in our large intestine. These will help to regulate the peristalsis. That is why it's called that the gut is the second brain. I would argue that, as someone did already, Zach Bush, a doctor, said that our second brain might be this and our first brain is this. And I believe that might be true because our intestines are the ones which lead the entire body, and it's so amazing how everything works in synergistically with each other. So this ends my presentation today, and I hope you can feel my enthusiasm and passion for this subject. I truly believe that anyone needs to see this information, and that everyone who saw it, please go back and see it from the beginning. If you need more questions, let me know if I can answer them. One thing is very clear to me, is that when I began seeing the actions as a complex, not as pieces, what can I do for dry eyes? You can't just do one thing. You need to do a complex of things, like taking care of your body fully, and that will help. It's why I speak about this is because I went last week to an ophthalmologist for my son Gabriel, and they prescribed him glasses. And now he said, well, he has dry eyes, because I told him he has very itchy, dry eyes. But I know a lot more about his health than anyone on the planet, and not just because I am his mom, but because I research so much and I write down everything what I notice. He has a lot of mysterious problems, basically, and it's very hard to detect and understand what's happening. But at least I knew what tests to find to actually order to understand what's happening, but there is still so much more. Anyway, the doctor said, if he has dry eye, just go and give him this gel or some kind of eye drops. And I said, well, for how long do you think? Which forever. And I will tell you this, I've been on eye drops for dry eye for many years before, because I had a LASIK surgery. I didn't see before, and I was wearing glasses. And in 2014, I made myself a LASIK surgery, and now I see without needing glasses. But the downside effect of that was that I had dry eyes for a long time. And I used to buy those eye drops. It was like $50 every month, every single month. And it just felt like a normal thing to do for me until I got into the school of nutrition. And I began asking huge questions, deep questions of myself and of the things and every habit I had. And I said, this is just a habit which I created. I was going to store and I would know, okay, I need this sunset, whatever it's called, sustain. And I told myself, no more of this. I can do it without it. And I increased hydration. I increased lots of healthy fats. I increased lots of vitamin C foods and changed the way I was eating. And you know that I changed everything, and I would speak to every one of you when if somebody would need to answer this. But definitely I changed everything, all the household products to non-toxic ones. I changed no more sugar, no more chemical foods, no more genetically modified stuff in packages, no more salami, no more of this, none of those. And little by little it changed the way I feel in my eyes. Like, I don't have any more dry eyes, and that has been already, I don't know, so many years. At least 2 years have been since I did not use those eye drops, but I used them from 2014 until around 2019, 2020. So I used them for at least 6 years, every single day, at least a few times a day. And the doctor came like this and said, well, you need to use this for your son, and that's it. It doesn't matter that it will be forever. He said, just try it. And I realized that that's not a fix, that's just temporary something, and it's actually not helping but making things worse, and I did not get it. Another thing which I saw is you can't fix constipation just by not taking Miralax and taking something else. Definitely a temporary thing. What you can do is to take about 4 to 10 different plums, just plums, dry plums, and you can put them in warm water and let them sit for a day or overnight, and you can drink that water and eat all those plums. But this is a very temporary thing what you can do instead of Miralax. But definitely Miralax is making constipation even worse, even if you don't see it. What I also recommend is listening to this video again and understanding to teach the kids to chew their food. But definitely you need to look if they have sugars, if they have citric acid and ascorbic acid into their diets, if they're eating high corn syrup, or if they have other things like sugars, they don't have maybe any probiotics in their meals. Maybe they're eating too much fried food, depending of what is coming, what's going on. But I hope that this webinar explained you how digestion works. Thank you, Maya, for coming here, and I would really advise you to see the whole video from the beginning. I don't know if everything was as accurate as possible. I tried my very best to make it as clear for anyone who doesn't have any education in this to understand how actually digestion works. Now, going back to the tips which I said, because it's important to know that breathing very deep is a tip to improve your digestion. Having different teas, like even right now, I'm going to have some tea made of oregano, tea made with cardamom, oregano, cinnamon, burdock root, astragalus, cloves. What else it's in there? Cinnamon, yeah, and there was 3 more. Milk thistle. So I basically make a combination of these different herbs, and I put it in a jar, and I have it ready, and I make tea. Once in 2 or 3 days I make different types of teas, and I have them all ready, and I give it throughout the days. I give it to the boys. When they want water, I give them some water, and I make some tea in there. I constantly make sure to give them some kind of milk thistle or burdock root. These are digestion support teas. They are supporting the body. As I said, you need beetroot foods to help move that bile out of the gallbladder. You need fatty foods to move that bile. If you don't move it, then it stays stuck in there with all the toxins. Another thing what you can do is to put the castor oil pack right on that liver side. If you have constipation, put castor oil all over the abdomen, because it protrudes, it goes down very deep in tissues, and if there are any type of cysts or any type of issues or different tissues which are destroyed, the castor oil will go and soothe all that area. It goes so deep into the tissues. So definitely try some castor oil like today. Definitely see if the child is not dehydrated. See if you can do some plums. Definitely try to make them chew very well and explain the importance. My channel, I have a channel on YouTube which I'm trying to grow, and it's very hard in this time and era, because there are so much information out there and people are just like drowning in. But what I realized is that when my son had some Gatorade which somebody gave to him for whatever reason, they gave him to try, he had swallowed face, and I was trying to explain explain him why he should not drink the Gatorade, and it would not stick with him. He wouldn't understand why he shouldn't even try it. And I was looking for some videos where someone explains it to kids, but there is nothing. So I started right now a YouTube channel, and we made 4 videos. I'm still learning how to add music, text, to understand how to do these things, because we made yesterday a video with Gabriel where he speaks. He's 5 and he speaks how to choose a healthy juice. What are the ingredients what you look for to look for healthy juice, and which ones are unhealthy. So we'll be doing this with cereals, with flour, with ketchup, with mustard, with water, and so on. Those are the channels, and I will try to be very consistent. This is my second live. I promised it to myself first of all that I will do the digestion video, and I did it today. Hopefully someone can get the much needed information. If it was maybe too much, learn again, you know, like you can watch it again and take some notes about the digestion system. It's very important to know where our organs are and how do they work. It's very, very important. You can't just do one thing and help with eczema. It is a process, and just accept it as such. And I'm here if you need more help. I try my best to also post different things what I do, but it is a lot of work without feedback, and I don't even know if somebody needs it or not. If you know, like, it's not paid. This type of lives, they take time to prepare for it, go out and do this, and after this I have to find a way to download it and put maybe on YouTube too and on Instagram. There are a lot of pieces of puzzle when it comes to this, but I definitely want to be of service to people who need it. And I see lots of girls who go and get their nails and hair, and they do cakes and weddings and stuff, but they do not take care of this. I see it, and it just breaks my heart to see the industry, how it works really. Because when you buy a house here in America, you buy a house and they tell you that, well, the realtor will take 5% or whatever, or $10,000 or $5,000, and you know that, and it's just like a given. When you buy a house, you need to pay that. When you buy a house, you need to pay for title, for car, for... These are like given things. You go and you buy all kinds of other things, but when it comes to our health, I paid at least $10,000 for my education. That's at least for the courses, for all the time I've been in school, and for all these years I never stopped learning. So I cannot offer these things for free, because lots of people are coming in with lots of questions like, what should I do for this or for that? I want to be very clear in this video to explain that I'm a human being too, and I have my own world, and I need to support it, and I cannot give when I am empty. That is why I'm here to explain that I don't think it's it's well constructed. Like the world doesn't have a healthy view when it comes to the nutrition. And it's not just the nutritionist who will tell you to eat these calories or this much. It is teaching you to look back within yourself, to understand how actually your body works. I definitely believe that we all can do and make different choices without spending huge money and going and doing these fancy protocols and programs and seeing these things. Like right now, I of course follow people who are like in Moldova or something, let's say Tiny Wander or who else in there. They have a program there and they say that's how much you should eat and so on, and it's a program which costs $1,000, or who needs that? And I want to be very affordable for all the people, and I have this desire for people to understand they don't need too much. They need just a little bit at their own pace and to look within to help themselves. You have everything in your kitchen. You can get what you need in your kitchen and you don't need any medication. And actually one time somebody asked me, what is the medication that you have inside the house? Nothing. My medications are herbs, oils, homeopathics, nothing else. Right now I got some band-aids just in case or something. But there is nothing of medication. No paracetamol, no Tylenol, no ibuprofen, no medication whatsoever of anything at all. And I see always influencers all over speaking about health and recommending nutrition and different programs, but at the same time they use so much medication on their kids, or they cook in aluminum pans, or they use all kinds of products for cleaning windows and or other things. Just everything needs to be in a complex, and we need to be well of our own bodies. So I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm here to put things in perspective and for you to truly understand where I'm coming from. Because I just have such a deep passion and I want to continue to do what I love. But right now I also work at a different job. I work right now as an interpreter, Romanian and English. And while I know Romanian and I know English and it's kind of like interesting or something, but it's not my area of passion. I want to continue to do this, and I'm learning the ways to actually create a bigger business, but I need your guys' feedback. I need your help. You can just share this video. Today we'll see one person, tomorrow 3 people, and I believe we can help each other grow. If I've been of service and if you understood anything from it more clearly, please share it. Share it in your groups with people who you know, on your pages. Write a review, something which will help me grow, especially my channel with my boy, because your kids maybe will listen to you to not eat golden crackers or whatever they might eat, golden fish, if they will see Gabriel speaking about it. I've seen that kids listen better to our kids when it comes to education like this. And like Gabriel loves Blippi, and I said, you know what, you'll be like Blippi one day. Mom is working with it every day a little bit. We're learning to do these things on our own. It is a process, especially of all the things that are going on. I'll let you know later, but yes, that's what I had to say. Hopefully you learned something new. I thank you everyone for being here. Make sure to share my profile, my page, my Instagram, this live. If you can give me 2 minutes of your day today, that would be very appreciated. And anyone who'd like to work with me, I'm here to help you. To many of you, maybe I sent my package. It is, as I said, I paid for my own school a lot. I cannot give it for free, and I definitely cannot work for free because my own time costs because I I have always education. Anyway, have a good day. Thank you so much for coming over here. And the more I will do it, the more I will learn how to communicate, receive feedback, learn more, know how to share, and so on. The next video, let me look here. I plan to do one a week, and some people gave me feedback that this should be paid at least $5. Some of them said 50, but I decided that at least for 4 weeks I'll do it for free. So the next videos we're gonna talk about fatty acids, so you understand why fatty acids are so important, to actually choose the best fats for your body. Fats are not what we think they are. They're not the villains. So I think about doing that next week on Sunday. Saturday might not be able to do it, or maybe Saturday evening I might, we'll see. Thank you so much for coming over, and have a good day. If you have any questions, let me know.